Brandon, though, let me start with you. What is the key to this game, Bucs Saints?
Ooh, let me see. Let's start. There's 3 keys. Let's start with the first one. Rookie tackle. I don't even know how to say it. I don't even know how to say his name. Worth or Wirfs. I don't know who this guy is. But thank you. Think about this, Nick.
No problem.
When I made it to the NFL in 2006, we went to Foxborough. And at Foxborough, it was like Sunday Night Football or something, and I'm catching the ball for Jake Plummer. I'm not even playing. And he's throwing me the ball, and I'm catching it, I'm tossing him back. And then all of a sudden, fireworks took off. And I remember just being in awe, like, wow, I made it to the NFL. And all I heard in the distance was Jake Plummer saying, Brandon, focus. And I was like, oh, snap, okay, we have a game. So think about being the guy that has to protect Tom Brady, the GOAT. So this is a thing that we all need to watch, okay? The second thing, we need to watch the dynamic between Bruce and Brady. When you look at this, the last 15 years, Bruce's offense is historical for throwing the ball down the field, taking 7-step drops, telling his quarterback, stand in there, take the hit. What have Tom Brady done the last 15 years outside of the Randy Moss years? Oh, the opposite. Drop back as fast as you can, get the ball out as fast as you can to the flat, to the flare, to the option route, right? That's what Tom Brady has done. So this is going to be an interesting thing to watch. And the last thing that I'm watching, and I'm super excited about it, is this clash between Titans. Coach Todd Bowles, awesome defensive mind. And then Coach Sean Payton, play caller. Coach Sean Payton is going to throw so many formations, so many different motions at Coach Bowles. Coach Bowles is going to do the same thing over and over and over again, but he's going to have 1 or 2 wrinkles. So I'm excited to see these 2 geniuses on full display come this weekend. This is going to be a big game, and get your popcorn ready.
Coach, can you add to his 3 keys? What do you think the key to this game is going to be?
Yeah, first of all, I'm so excited to watch this game. This is continuity versus change. This is what could have been in New England if Tom Brady had stayed. New Orleans staying with Drew Brees versus overhauling the system. Yep. and how that's going to work. And what's going to be most interesting to me is how they use Tom Brady, whether or not this becomes Bruce Arians' system and Tom has to learn it, or whether or not Tom gets to add or use the majority of the system that he's comfortable with. And when you bring in a player for a limited amount of time, and Tom's there for a limited amount of time, who's achieved at a high level, the best chance for his success is if he does what he's comfortable doing, because then he's got answers to the questions, and he knows where to go with the football, and he knows how to solve whatever problem anybody can come up with. And there's going to be a bunch of problems in game 1 of the season. Now, if he's learning a new system, and look, that's not a knock on Bruce Arians' system, and it's not a knock on Tom Brady's ability to learn, but when you have to go through a learning process after 20 years, you're not going to have quick answers. So if I was New Orleans, I would test Tom as much as possible. Pressure him, and see whether or not he can figure out where to go with the ball. And that seems like it shouldn't work because it's Tom Brady, but it's not Tom Brady in a place that he's comfortable with. So that's what I want to see from the Saints.
Coach, not shockingly, I think you nailed it from the Saints' defensive perspective, because historically, blitzing or pressuring Brady has been a death wish. But the last 3 years, he's gone from the greatest quarterback ever in the face of an extra rusher to decent to below average to last year was downright awful in the face of an extra rusher, was throwing the ball away with total, not just regularity. It looked like his first read was the ball boy on the sideline if you sent a blitz at him. And my question, Coach, would be, you're talking about the different ways that the Brady system or Arians system. But part of the reason I think Brady played the way he did last year was he knew our defense is so good, I just have to limit mistakes. If I don't turn the ball over, we are almost assuredly going to win this football game. The Patriots last year, every single one of their victories, they held their opponent to 17 points or less. So he knew he wasn't going to be relied on for the massive play. I think Tampa's defense is a little underrated, but it's not the Patriot defense of 2019 coached by Bill Belichick. So do you think Brady's going to be willing to take those bigger shots as far as getting hit and the bigger shots as far as pushing the ball downfield for a team that is going to need more explosive plays than the Patriots have the last couple of years?
Well, I don't think Tom should be anybody besides what Tom has been really successful doing. And when you start trying to be something else, you start trying to do something else, it doesn't work. You brought Tom Brady in to do what he does really well. And last year against the pressure with a lack of success in a system that he knows, that's a concern. When you don't understand and look, it won't even be Tom not understanding where to go with the ball, but does everybody else understand it? Is everybody seeing it the same way? Do the answers come quickly as you get the different exotic looks? And one of the things that you can say about Tampa Bay last year is they were hurt by the turnovers more so than anything else. So if Tom protects the ball, they maybe go from 7-9 to 10-6 or 11-5. I think that was a big part of why he came in. The other thing you could see from Arians tonight is them running the ball quite a bit. He's not afraid to get big, and he's got a lot of good tight ends. He could get in 22 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, 2 backs, or 13, 3 tight ends, and try to run it down New Orleans' throat too. He's got multiple backs that could do that, and he's got multiple tight ends that could do that as well.
Kevin Wildes.
Coach, how do you think Brady's going to use Gronk here? I know that Mike Evans has been dealing with a hamstring, so I feel like one of his sort of little security blankets, he's got Mike Evans there. Mike Evans might not be there. Leonard Fournette just showed up. They just met each other the other day. So do you think this bodes well for Gronk, or do you think Gronk's going to come out and still be pretty rusty?
It's so interesting. Years ago, the Washington Redskins used to operate like a fantasy football team. They'd bring in all these guys that were great players at one point, but were past their prime, and you saw the name on the jersey, but they didn't look anything like the player you would come to expect when that jersey actually showed up. And that's what you wonder about this situation. Where is Gronk compared to what we knew of him in New England? How has a year off helped him or hurt him? And you could say, Fournette or LaShawn McCoy, any of these guys that you bring in, the big name guys, where are they? And Gronk is going to be a function of how many reps can he handle and how is the game going. If it ends up being a bigger game, bigger personnel, I think you're going to see significantly more Gronk. If not, he's probably just going to have, a package or two. Maybe he's in the red zone, maybe he's on third down. I don't think you want to overuse him early.
Coach, you said something interesting. You said continuity versus change. That's one of the things that you're looking at here, right? If I'm looking at this game as well from that perspective and that lens, then I'm looking at a lot to a little. If I'm the Saints with all the continuity and all the chemistry, you're doing a lot, and that's what they already do. On the defensive side, their packages change every single week. Who they match up with guys, how they match up with them. I was there when Coach Payton was like, hey, we're going to put this defensive back on this guy because he's stronger, he's taller. And it was our number 2 cornerback, but it was Julio Jones, right? So I saw how he changed week in and week out. And on the offensive side, as you know, Coach Payton is looking at Coach Bowles, what he did against different formations when he was the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. There was times where I would go up to his office 11 o'clock at night, and he's in there like, Brandon, look at this play. Wow, look at this. This is 2011. The Cincinnati Bengals played this, and this formation, this defensive coordinator. I'm like, Coach, how do you see this? And then on the other side of the ball, you have a lot of new things happening, and you got to stick to the fundamentals. You got to stick to the basics. And what is that? Todd Bowles, he's already a guy that lets his guys play ball. He puts his guys in position and let them make the changes on the field. He has a defensive coordinator on the field. But on the offensive side, you hit it on the head. Rely on the run game. rely on if Mike Evans play, if he's one-on-one, throw the ball. If Gronk is running down the middle of the field and it's cover one and he's on his numbers and the seams, hit Gronk. So I think we got to see the fundamentals from the Tampa Bay side if they want to start off fast. You can look at the Texans last night. What do they do with all this uncertainty around the offseason and preseason? They come out and they throw the ball around and they go 3 and out to start the season. So I love what you said, continuity versus a lot of change.
A lot of
the other
things
thing
to look
I
for
just
as we get quickly. Go ahead, Coach.
I would just say the other thing you could potentially see is some no huddle out of Tampa Bay, and that would help clear things up for Tom in terms of the looks that he sees. It doesn't have to be hurry up. Just give the illusion of hurry up so he gets information and he slows down the defensive pressures by New Orleans.
Not just Tom, underdog Tom Brady for the first time in 5 years. Bucs Saints, America's Game of the Week. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.